In 1999, I was involved in a head-on car crash with a drunk driver at a high rate of speed. Left me with an acquired brain injury and distorted my vision. And I was suffering from post-traumatic stress syndrome at the time. I was going to regular eye doctors, and they did not seem to be able to get a prescription that worked. My eyes would change on a daily basis. One day I could focus closely, the next day I couldn't. I could read with the glasses they gave me one day, and the next day I couldn't. And they couldn't explain that to me. And it was very frustrating, and I was spending a lot of time going to their offices being tested, and nothing worked. And they couldn't explain this to me, which was the worst part. Then a friend of mine told me about Dr. Today, and I went in to see her. And within, 10 or 15 minutes of just talking, I knew she understood what I was having happen to me. And then through her tests, it confirmed what she thought. And she was able to tell me exactly what had happened, why it happened. And the best news of all was that she could cure it. And it was just, it was such a relief at a very troubled time in my life. While I was healing from that incident, I was involved in an altercation where someone attacked me. And they re-injured my brain injury and re-injured my vision. So I had to come back again, and this time, was able to heal it a second time. So it's, it was very reassuring because I was very nervous that maybe this had done more damage. And even with that more damage, we were able to cure it again. The third time, earlier in August of last year, I was sailing on an 82-foot boat with the gentleman who owned it. Was an elderly gentleman who lost his footing while we were at sea, and he came across 16 feet of deck that was heeled over, so the boat was tipped like that, and he came flying across the whole deck and hit me in the back of the head, and flipped over me and started overboard, was over the side of the boat. I was able to catch him miraculously. I caught him and brought him back on the boat, probably saving his life. And he broke 2 ribs and punctured his lung. And my head was re-injured again. And my vision was not normal. So again, I called Dr. Today. She said, yeah, we can fix it. And here I am today with, able to focus clearly and stable eyesight and just much better. I have tools. So, I know when something happens with my eyes, I know what to do to bring them back together, to focus distance, focus near, far. It's, it's tools that you have with you. So one of the added benefits of what you get with working with Dr. Today's method of working with your eyesight is that at that point I had acquired brain injury, so my memory, my processing was not working correctly. And through most of these eye doctors had no idea that the brain and the eyes are connected the way they are. Through her therapy, I was able to not only improve my eyesight, but my memory, my processing, and all the, executive functions. Through the therapies that she has, I was able to both cure my, heal my vision, as well as the brain, and get them to work together as a unit again, which, was what I was looking for, is to be whole again. So one of the great things with, I'm probably one of the few people who's had to come back 3 times, is that each time I came back, my eyes had a memory and my brain had a memory. So I was able to get back to normal vision quicker and easier than I had, the first time. The first time was a lot of work, but the brain retained it and the eyes retained that memory. So I was able to, go a lot quicker than I had. It was great. They involved training my eyes, training my focusing, training my brain to control my eyes to focus at different distances, and for my 2 eyes to work together. They had a tendency of not cooperating. And through these exercises, they would work together, and the brain would be able to control what they were doing. My eyes were, very good. I was a professional photographer for 30 years. So my eyes were quite used to focusing and focusing precisely before autofocus cameras came into the mix. And it was the traumatic brain injury. It was that blunt force of my brain hitting my skull at a sudden stop that caused the damage and caused the eyes to kind of separate and not work together. before my eyes could work together and before my vision was being, the therapy was working, I was very confused and kind of fuzzy, and things weren't clear as well, not only with the vision, but the brain. And the more that my eyes came together and the more that my eyes worked together with my brain, the clearer everything got. My thinking, my executive functions, all that got clearer and clearer, and helped me to heal from this traumatic brain injury. People who know me are amazed the difference from when I first had this accident. I mean, just yesterday, someone told me, he's amazed. He said, when I first met you, you had that brain injury and you were having trouble functioning. And now you're at the top of your game. You're respected in the whole industry. You're respected in the Bay as a captain and for what you do with children and for the vessels that you command. And, you know, that wouldn't have happened without Dr. Today's help. So last year I was honored for the work that I do with children, taking them sailing and teaching them about the ocean environment with a Jefferson Award. And the Jefferson Award is considered on the national level to be the Nobel Peace Prize for community service. I don't work on the national level, I work on the San Francisco Bay Area, so I won it for my work here in the Bay with children. We teach them about ocean literacy, and ocean literacy is how the ocean affects the whole planet, provides all the air, the fresh water, the climate, and how what we do on land, or what children do on land in their homes and their schools, affects the ocean, which therefore affects the whole planet and our ability to live. I had mentioned to somebody that I was been hit by a drunk driver and that I was having, you know, all these problems. And they said, have you ever tried to get California Victims Assistance? And I said, what's that? They told me about it. I went home, I looked it up, and I called that afternoon. And the woman on the phone says, honey, you are so lucky. I said, why? She said, because if you had called tomorrow, you would not be eligible. This is the last day you would be eligible for that program. And that program supported my doctor's bills, my lost income, my college, my rehab, everything. I just wish more people would know about that, because I'm sure there are people that were like me that were lost. I mean, I had no clue what was going on. It was, you know, and as a professional photographer at that time, my vision was everything. And the experts that I went to, the so-called experts that I went to, didn't have a clue. And they weren't willing to really look to see what was happening. They just were going to put a Band-Aid on my eyes to try to get them to work together. They had no idea about how the whole thing works together. And that's what Dr. Today brings, is that knowledge of how the whole system as a whole works together and is able to make it whole and work in harmony again.